Good morning. I'm John Begg, President of the Model A Ford Foundation. Welcome to the museum. We were all expected to be here in person today, but because of COVID-19, well, things had to change. But we're not going to change. We still want to show you the museum. So with the help of Randy Zuka and Jim Thomas, let's take a quick walk through the museum. Gentlemen, welcome. You're walking into the showroom. This is the showroom of the Model A Museum. The first thing you're going to see is probably some pretty nice eye candy for you, a 1929 town car. But I have some guests I want to visit with you and have you meet first. Let me introduce you to Bill Truesdale. Bill is president of MOFCA, Model A Ford Club of America. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, John.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you. And it's a pleasure to be here and represent many members of MOFCA who support the Model A Ford Museum.
Great to have you on the tour. Let me also introduce you to Joe Fox. Joe is the president of MARC, Model A Restorers Club. Good morning, Joe.
Morning, John. And I'd like to welcome all Model A'ers to this virtual tour of the Model A Museum. And certainly thank you all for your support of the hobby and of the museum. I want to point out this is a beautiful car right here. It's a 29 town car. Actually, the rarest of all the passenger Model A's that were built. It was actually focused on high-end users and has many luxury features.
This would be pretty nice to have in the garage.
It would. It's a beautiful example of this very rare car.
Thank you, Joe. Mark, take a swing around and just kind of show this. I want you to show the Victoria here real quick before we walk. And Bill, if you're ready, let's kind of take a walk through. We'll leave the showroom and kind of walk through the main museum. All right. So what you're seeing in front of me is you're seeing a number of displays. Our penny machine, our new postcard machine. You're walking through, about to enter the main alley. And one thing I want to point out to you is there are about 30 displays here of cars, era fashion, a number of exhibits. We can't focus on all of them. There's just not enough time to do that, but we do want to show you a few things. This is our latest edition. We actually installed this yesterday. This is the interactive starter display. We're going to be doing a separate video about this. This is an educational display, hopefully for our younger generation as well as everyone. I want to show you this just real quickly. This is a very, very early, this is the second oldest vehicle we have in this museum. It's a 1928 truck. It was actually assembled in November of 1927. And it's a beautiful restoration from the Rood family donation. And Bill, you're familiar with this car. Talk about this car if you will.
I would. It's one of my favorites in the museum, John. The 28 Ford Model A Thomas Edison's Phaeton. This car was actually the very first car that come off the production line, and the number 1 was stamped by Henry himself on that engine block.
This car is on loan to us from the Henry Ford Museum, and we are very proud to have it. It's hard to imagine a more unique car. So this is number 1. This is the oldest car we have in the museum, and I showed you the truck, which is the second oldest. Let's continue to walk through, gentlemen. You're going to see a number of other displays, but where we're going to stop is we're going to stop at the first responders vehicle, which is themed, which is our theme this year. Each year we do a theme. First responders was the selected theme for this year. And it's to recognize vehicles that were used in the Model A era in community support. And so you're going to see several vehicles. We're going to stop first at the ambulance. This is the green ambulance. It's about as green as you can get. And Marcia Cannell, who was one of our trustees, is going to talk a little bit about the ambulance. Go ahead, Marcia, please.
Hi, this is a 1931 Model A ambulance on loan to us from Mr. Wayne Arnold in Seaborn, Indiana. This vehicle has a traditional back door of an ambulance, but it also has a side entrance here to help access the stretcher and medical personnel. Unfortunately, this rig doesn't have air conditioning, so we hope that your ride to the hospital isn't a long one.
Thank you, Marcia. I should have introduced Mark Marin. Mark is doing the filming for us. Thank you, Mark and Val. We are going to look at the paddy wagon next. The paddy wagon and the police car are on loan to us from the Elliott Museum in Stuart, Florida. These are real vehicles that were actually used in service as police vehicles in 1930-31 time frame. The paddy wagon, which you're looking at here, actually weighs over 4,000 pounds. It would hold 8 passengers. Let me show you the back end of the entry point for passengers. It's a really heavy-duty vehicle, as you can see, but it still has the 40 horsepower Model A engine. It does have a 4-speed transmission with a creeper first gear, but it's a slow mover. This is not meant for speed. But Mark, if you could come around and show the back of the where the passengers are. Now, in the real times, there would probably be manacles on the bottom to hold the passengers. Maybe these passengers would not be as pleasant as other Model A passengers, but nonetheless, this is what was used back in that time frame. Moving on, we're going to kind of walk around this. It's hard to do justice doing a film. You really need to see this in person to really appreciate the quality of this restoration. But we also have the matching police car. If you look at the police car, you'll notice that it looks very similar to a standard Phaeton, which it is, with the exception of it would have had a police siren on it, it would have some special lights, but it's basically a Model A. You can see that this car was actually used in service in 1930. It's being guarded by Officer Delaney, who is in era fashion police uniform, and he's standing next to a police box. Now, for those not familiar with this, very briefly, a policeman would open that box with a key and there would be a phone in there, and he would call in his main dispatch center if he needed some help. The light would light up to show where he was located, who needed service in that area. So we're talking about our theme, which is first responders, and so we now also want to talk to you and show you a little bit about a fire engine that we have. Let me introduce you to Ken Ehrenhofer. Ken, if you could say good morning and talk about the fire engine.
Good morning. This is a 1928 Model AA Ford, and it has a fire unit that's built by the Boyer Fire Apparatus Company in Logansport, Indiana. And it's equipped with a hand crank siren and a bell. And of course it has our puppy dog called Spot. And it has a pike pole and suction hoses for sucking out of the ponds or rivers. It has a 250 GPM, gallons per minute pump. So it was the state of the art in 1928 for fighting fires. Coming around the back here, this hose bed would be filled with several hundred feet of hose so they could pull out and fight the fire. It has all kinds of nozzles on the side here. And ladders, there's a ladder on both sides. There's a extension ladder on one side and a roof ladder on the other side. It's complete with an axe. And of course, here's the inlet and the outlet of the pump.
Beautiful. This is a real driving fire engine. You could take this out on the road today, right, Ken?
That's for sure.
You've got another one yourself, I believe.
I have 1929, same manufacturer, Boyer Fire Apparatus truck.
Thank you, Ken. Thanks. We're going to continue to walk around, Ken, and show some other things. Here's a Model A that you probably haven't seen in a Model A show in a Ford display. You certainly wouldn't have seen one in a showroom in 1931. Mr. Dean Weller from DeSoto, Kansas, has donated this vehicle to us. It's a handmade Model A. It has a completely restored Model A chassis and drivetrain. It was made out of wrought iron. It's actually a beautiful piece of art, as well as an educational display. It gives you the opportunity to really see the inner workings of a Model A. Just a beautiful restoration, or a beautiful creation, I should say, that was made by Mr. Weller. So thank you to Mr. Weller. Let's continue our walk through to give you an idea of some of the other vehicles we have here on display. We're going to just kind of take a walk with Joe and Bill and show you some of the other exhibits. We can't stop at all of them, as I mentioned earlier. There's simply not enough time. But I did want us to walk over and take a minute and talk about the schoolhouse display and the school bus. Joe, can you talk to us about that a little bit?
Absolutely. This is a really beautiful display over here. It actually depicts a schoolroom such as the one-room schoolhouse that was used in the Model A era. You'll see era maps, books, desks even from the area, and even some of the mannequins are clothed in era fashions of the time period. It's quite an interesting display, but the best part of course, is the school bus itself.
So if you look at the school bus, you'll see, this is where we, if I can help you with this a little bit, this is where we allow some of our school children to come in and we'll do photo ops. They love that part of the display.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, this is a 1930 school bus. It was bought by the El Monte School District in California, and it was used to haul students to school all the way up through the 1940s. Now, it's got the original 40 horsepower engine just like used in the cars. Of course, it had to be geared down quite a bit to get that power through, and as a result it has a 35-mile-an-hour top speed, and that's exactly why it has the nickname of Huff and Puff #1.
Yeah. This is the other, thank you, Joe. Continuing our theme of first responders, we did want to point out this tow truck. This is original AA 1930 Model A tow truck. Again, part of our first responders. Let's continue our walk through, and we're going to look at some static displays, a compressor, but I want to stop at a display with Judy Watson. Judy is going to talk to us about fashion. She's going to talk to us a little bit about her guest, Axel. Judy.
Hi, as long as you're coming through the service area, I want to take you into the garage here and meet Axel. Axel the mechanic is wearing a coat exactly like he would have been wearing 90 years ago if he was a real man. And if you look at him, I mean, you can't get much closer to being realistic. He even has veins in his hands, for goodness sake. All through the exhibit, you've seen fashions next to cars, next to vehicles that complement the vehicle so well. Same thing with Axel. He's just the perfect complement to this vehicle here. So thank you for visiting our garage.
Thank you, Judy. Judy said it well. So this museum is trying to tell the Model A story. From the early cars all the way through the 31. We're now looking at the parts and service display, which is the other part that was really an amazing work of dedication by John Marshall and his crew. So these are original cases that you would see in a Model A or a Ford dealership back in that time frame. They're full of NOS parts and old stock. All of these have been donated from many of our members. That's the 1920s cash register. You can't really take it all in. It's hard to not spend quite a bit of time here. But I will point out a couple of quick items behind the counter, which Mark is not focused on at the moment, but there is an engine, a Model A engine, in a crate. It's never been uncrated. It's a new NOS part in its original packaging. So really an amazing collection, and you can see as you go through, it's not just the parts for the cars, but you'll also see accessories. So for instance, these are called header clocks, and these would be offered as an accessory. That's our newest display. We're still in the process of completing it. In Model A's, you'll see some of the tools, the bases, and just a whole array of different parts that were available at the Model A time. Well, that concludes our tour. I know it was brief. You can't do it justice by video. So I want to thank you for attending. I want to ask you to come next year, the third Saturday of September, which is September 18th of 2021. We hope to have Model A Day. We hope to see you there. We want you to see the first responders vehicle, and thank you for your support. Continue to provide your support. That's what makes this happen for us. We appreciate you coming. Thanks again. Bye, everybody.